Welcome to Thoughts and Theories. What if the very thing we spend our lives chasing is the reason we're unhappy? We tell ourselves we want to be happy. Every decision, every plan, every late-night thought seems to orbit around that one goal: happiness. But the strange thing is, the more we chase it, the further it seems to move away. It's like trying to catch your reflection in water. The moment you reach for it, it disappears. This is what philosophers, psychologists, and ordinary people have called the paradox of happiness. The idea that pursuing happiness directly often leads to the exact opposite: dissatisfaction, anxiety, and emptiness. Let's break this down simply. Think about how we define happiness today. Most people see it as a feeling: joy, pleasure, comfort, excitement, and so we chase experiences that promise those feelings. We buy new things, go on vacations, scroll endlessly through social media, fall into relationships, and quit them when they stop making us feel good. But if happiness is just a feeling, then it's temporary by nature. No emotion lasts forever. So when the feeling fades, we assume something is wrong with our lives, our partners, or ourselves. And so the chase begins again. Modern culture has made happiness into a project. Books, podcasts, influencers. Everyone has a secret formula for being happy. The irony is, this constant focus on happiness is making people more miserable than ever. Depression rates are up, anxiety is everywhere, and many people feel lost despite having more comfort and convenience than any generation before them. Psychologists have actually studied this. There's something called the paradoxical effect of happiness. The more people value happiness, the less happy they tend to be. Why? Because when you make happiness your main goal, every moment that falls short of that standard feels like failure. You're sitting with friends, but you're not as happy as you expected to be, and that disappointment ruins the very joy you were looking for. Imagine a person who goes to a concert thinking, "This is going to make me so happy." They get there, it's fun. But maybe it's a little hot, the sound isn't perfect, or they start comparing their experience to others on social media. Suddenly, they feel disappointed, not because the concert was bad, but because it didn't match their imagined level of happiness. Their expectation killed the experience. That's the paradox in action. Philosophers have seen this problem for centuries. Epicurus, the ancient Greek philosopher often accused of being a hedonist, actually warned against chasing pleasure for its own sake. He said real happiness comes from avoiding pain and finding peace of mind, not from constant stimulation. His idea was simple: when you stop running after pleasure, you discover contentment. The Stoics took it even further. Thinkers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius believed that happiness isn't something you chase, but something that happens when you live with reason, self-control, and acceptance. The Stoic would say, don't ask the world to make you happy. Train your mind to stay calm, no matter what happens. And ironically, this detachment often leads to a deeper and more stable kind of happiness. There's also something deeply biological about this paradox. Our brains evolved for survival, not happiness. Dopamine, the chemical linked to pleasure, is designed to push us toward new goals, not to keep us content. When we get what we want, dopamine drops, and we immediately start craving something else. That's why the thrill of buying a new phone, car, or outfit fades so quickly. The system is built to make us chase, not rest. In a way, evolution programmed us to be slightly dissatisfied, because that's what keeps us moving. The problem is, in a modern world filled with endless options and advertising, this dissatisfaction never ends. You can always imagine a better version of your life, and that imagination becomes a source of pain. Take social media, for example. It's a machine built to trigger comparison. You see people smiling, traveling, falling in love, achieving things, and your brain starts calculating, why am I not that happy? Even if you were content a few minutes ago, now you feel like you're missing something. The pursuit of happiness has turned into a competition, and comparison quietly kills contentment. Another layer of the paradox is psychological pressure. When happiness becomes a moral duty, when you must be happy to feel like your life has meaning, sadness becomes shameful. People start hiding their pain, pretending everything's fine, faking smiles. That makes genuine connection impossible, because everyone is performing happiness instead of living authentically. And authenticity, ironically, is one of the main sources of real happiness. There's an old saying from Viktor Frankl, the psychologist who survived the Holocaust. He said, "Happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue." In other words, happiness is a side effect of living meaningfully. You don't get happy by hunting for happiness. You get happy by doing something else, by loving, creating, growing, learning, helping, or even enduring. That's why some of the happiest people in life are not the ones constantly asking, "Am I happy?" They're too busy doing things that matter to them. Think of an artist lost in their work, or a parent caring for their child, or a scientist exploring a mystery. In those moments, they were not thinking about happiness. They were simply absorbed in what they were doing. And in that absorption, happiness quietly appears. If you look at the people who seem truly at peace, you'll notice a pattern. They're not chasing pleasure, they're cultivating meaning. They find satisfaction in small things. They accept pain as part of life, and they don't compare their path to others. They understand that joy isn't constant. It comes and goes like waves, but peace can stay. The modern world sells us a different story. It tells us happiness means constant excitement, comfort, and positivity. But that's an illusion. Life includes suffering, loss, boredom, and failure. When we deny that, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The paradox is that by accepting unhappiness as a part of life, we actually become happier. It's a bit like sleep. You can't fall asleep by trying hard to sleep. The more you try, the more awake you stay. But when you stop trying, it happens naturally. Happiness works the same way. The moment you stop demanding to be happy, you give it room to show up. Let's take a real-life example. Think about people who volunteer or dedicate themselves to helping others. They're not doing it because it's pleasurable. Often, it's difficult and emotionally draining. Yet, studies show they report higher life satisfaction than people who focus solely on their own happiness. Why? Because meaning trumps pleasure. Our brains are wired to find deeper joy and purpose, not just comfort. Even in relationships, the same paradox appears. When people go into love thinking, "I just want someone who makes me happy," they usually end up disappointed. Because relationships aren't designed to make you constantly happy. They're designed to make you grow. Sometimes growth hurts, and that's okay. But when two people focus on honesty, care, and shared values rather than constant pleasure, happiness tends to follow naturally. So maybe the problem isn't that we want happiness. The problem is that we've misunderstood what happiness is. It's not a state to be achieved. It's a byproduct of how we live. You don't find it by staring at it directly. You stumble upon it while doing something else that feels meaningful or honest. Even in ancient wisdom and modern psychology, the message repeats. Buddhism, for example, teaches that attachment, the craving for pleasant experiences, is the root of suffering. But when you let go of the need to control outcomes, you discover peace. That's not mysticism, it's observation. The more you cling to pleasure, the more fragile your happiness becomes. And psychologists today say almost the same thing, but in different words. They call it acceptance-based living. It means you stop fighting uncomfortable emotions and instead focus on what truly matters to you. When you do that, happiness stops being a goal and becomes a companion. In the end, maybe the real secret isn't about chasing happiness at all. It's about living truthfully. When you accept that life is a mix of joy and pain, love and loss, laughter and sorrow, you stop running from half of it. And when you stop running, you finally have the space to enjoy what's already there. So, if you really want to be happy, stop trying to be. Focus on being real. Focus on growth, on connection, on doing something that makes you forget to ask whether you're happy. Because when you do, happiness tends to sneak in quietly, uninvited, but deeply welcome. That's the paradox of happiness. You find it only when you stop chasing it.